the 60 that you have in cash, you go out and look for some land and buildings to operate from. And eventually, right under your noses, you find this excellent location. Here it is. It's got an area over on the side where you'll be able to put in production machines. It's got a raw material warehouse. It's got a finished goods warehouse. And over on the side, it's got offices for your R&D, sales, admin people, and so on. The people want to buy it for 25. You bargain with them. You get it down to 20. And you buy this location from them for 20. When you do that, the cash of 20 leaves the board. That's gone. You never see it again. But you now own the land and buildings that you're operating out of. And we're representing the land and buildings with a stack of copper chips here. So every chip in the simulation is worth 1. We're using the colors to differentiate between different financial concepts. You still own 60 in the business. 40 of it is cash, 20 of it is the land and buildings. That balances against the 60 in equity that you have. The next thing that you need is a production machine to produce your royals with. And machines look like this. They cost 10, they will require a crew of 12 people to operate them, and they will produce 3 royals a month. So to buy this machine of 10, you take 10 chips out of cash. Again, the 10 chips leave the board, but you now own the machinery. And you've got a stack of chips there, and you'll be able to watch that value depreciate over time. Again, you've got 30 in cash, 10 in machinery, 20 in land and buildings. You've still got 60 chips. That was your original investment. Then you need to bring on a crew of people. In future, every time you bring a person onto the board, it's going to cost you 1 chip per person in recruitment and training cost. But for these first people, the 12 people to run the machine will come on for free. The other people that you're going to need over in the offices will come on for free, just for the setup period. Then you need raw materials, and the cost of raw materials to produce 1 royal is 3. That's shown by having 3 blue chips glued into the tubes. That's the cost of 1 raw material. It's got 3 chips in it. You're going to need 3 lots of raw materials to fill your machine for the month. It's going to cost you 9. 9 chips come out of cash and go to the raw material supplier. You can buy raw materials for cash at any point. The raw materials then get loaded into the machine, and you've got the employees on the machine start working away, turning it into a finished product for you to sell. These employees get paid 1 chip a month each. So there's 12 chips is going to go out. In the real world, it goes into their back pockets, and they spend it on the necessities of life, like NASCAR tickets and lottery tickets. But from an accounting point of view, you're taking that 12 and you're adding the value of the labor to the value of the raw materials. So we can take the 12, divide it up between the 3 lots of raw materials, and then we've got in each tube the raw materials and the labor component showing the direct cost of producing the royals. Now, you'd also like to have some more raw materials for next month, but you're getting a little low on cash here. Looks like you might be running out soon. You have the ability to borrow from the bank. You go to the bank and you demonstrate your operation. You're running a little low on cash. You'd like some money for working capital, and they will give you a line of credit of 60. And you can draw on that line of credit at any point. So to borrow 20 now, bring 20 into cash, but you're going to have to repay that 20 in 60 days' time. And that's shown with the stack of 20 red chips. In addition, you've got an interest charge. So anytime you bring a loan of 20 onto the board, you're going to pay 1 chip in interest. That's a one-time expense for the use of the money for 90 days. Your raw material supplier, now that you've developed a relationship with them, is always going to give you raw materials with 60 days to pay for them. They're very friendly. So here you've got your next month's supply of raw materials sitting in your warehouse, and get 9 red chips. That's the bill that you're going to have to pay in 60 days' time for the 3 raw materials that you've got on order. Now, you've got other people also working in the business, and they are over in the offices on the right-hand side. You've got one person in R&D, one person in sales and marketing, and one person in admin. These people also want to get paid each month. But unlike the people on the machines, they are not producing anything directly for you, so their wages go out of the business over into the SG&A area here. As long as cash is moving around on the board, staying on the balance sheet is not an expense to you. Once you pay it out over to the side here, it's an expense on the income statement. It's gone out of the business. So there's no cost of goods sold this month because you didn't sell anything. However, there is depreciation and machine overhead. Those each cost you 1 chip a month. Machine overhead is the cost of the electricity and water for running the machine. That's a cash expense. But the depreciation is not a cash expense. The cash went out when you bought the machine. The depreciation is just tracking the wearing out of the machine itself, and we show that by taking a copper chip out of the machine and putting it over on the income statement expense. Other expenses, advertising. You're not doing any advertising this month. And admin overhead. That's the cost of coffee and computer games to keep the office running. That's 1 chip a month. Recruitment and training. None this month, but in future, anytime you bring people onto the board, it's going to cost you 1 chip each just to bring them onto the board. And then rent. You own the land and buildings, so you don't pay rent. But if you ran out of cash and you couldn't raise any more cash, one of the things you could do would be to sell the land and buildings, take this off the board, bring on 20 more in cash, but then you'd have to pay 3 a month in rent. And then finally, the interest expense for each time you take out a loan, it will cost you 1 chip for the use of 20.